each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Hello. Sorry, there's just an old stream. It's had 215 views. I'm just finding out because I don't really look at my views and stuff, and I have a lot more than I was even aware. Because I was just counting kind of my Podbean stuff and what But I wish it probably will tell me where, but it'll probably tell me somewhere. But yeah, okay. It was 2 years ago. Oh, that was a year ago. We only had 2 views. Okay, sorry. Oh, did I put it in here? I did. I did put it in there. I've also been getting more views since I cut back on where I put stuff. Just kind of weird. Weird. Odd. So I'm a little irritated. Same shit. There's predators in the fucking program. There's predators and just a lot of bad fucking attitudes lately, and it tends to rub off on me a little bit, and I'm tired of it. Before the oven repair guy gets there, ooh, what'd you do to your oven? Hi, Clara. Hi, Ingrid. We're going to be reading out Language of the Heart again, talking about clubs in AA. We're a lot more familiar with clubs in AA now. Not really, you'd think that there'd be more virtual AA clubs online. But are they AA clubs? Are they clubs that hold AA meetings? Are they, and that's kind of what we're going to get into. It caught fire a little, just a little. Hey, it happens. That just tells me that you're using your oven. Yeah. What'd you do? You got a little bit of snow and started a fire in your oven. She's from Texas, so I'm just giving her a hard time. Let's go ahead and get to this before Dion bitches about the community. Because there's a lot of good stuff going on. But I want some fucking answers, man. And people aren't giving them to me. And I'm at a point where I'm going to put a foot up an ass. I will. And I ain't going to lube the shit either. Hey, Michelle, it's good to see you. Good to see you. But welcome, everybody, to Daily Trudge. I'm Dion. He just won't shut his mouth. if you're here, please say it. Yeah. Hello, I'm live. I'm an alcoholic. Oh, you guys been hearing about all this stuff with I've lost all respect for Ryan Reynolds, and I will never support another fucking Deadpool thing again. Nope. And I don't like being fooled either, because I thought he was a good guy. Anyway, opinion. That's all opinion. So don't worry about it. If you have the book, this is the book that we're in. Okay, and what these are they are a series of grapevine writings that Bill W. did. And this one is called Clubs in AA and was written in April of 1947. So see 45, 55, 65, 75, 05, 2000, almost 50 years ago. Almost 50 years ago, actually closer to 45 years ago. No, Dion doesn't know how to count. Dion doesn't know how to count. He clearly missed like 20 years there. Oh, the dancing guy from Spirited. Staying alive. Yeah, but I just want some fucking answers, and I don't like it when people see the budget was fucking spent, and somebody needs to pay the fucking piper. Or my concern is this: We'll get money again next year. And that's just going to happen again. It's going to go to the same fucking people. Why are we going to cut these people off? That's the answer I want. So I'm done with that. Let's get to this. Thank you for letting me 10-step that. Actually, I didn't even 10-step it. I bitched about it. So I will 10-step it throughout. How about that? Clubs in AA, April 1947, written a long time ago because Dion can't count. The club idea has become part of AA life. Scores of these hospital havens can report years of useful service. New ones are being started monthly. Were a vote taken tomorrow on a desirability of clubs, a sizable majority of AAs will record a resounding yes. There would be thousands who would testify that might have they had a harder time staying sober in their first months of AA without clubs, and that in any case, they would always wish the easy contacts and warm friendships which clubs afford. You know, when I got sober the first time and I came out of the Phoenix concept, I went to the Primary Purpose Club. And it was over off of Old Wadsworth. And I was not working. And, when I was working, I was 20 years old. I mean, and actually I was becoming a drug and alcohol. Oh, hold on. Today was the day. Oh, shit. Yay! A good friend had to have a kidney replacement, and he did it. Thank you, God. Yay! That's so fucking good. I might start crying, man. I might start crying. Yay! But I didn't really have anywhere to go. I had like all day to do shit. At 20 years old. So I took a service position, and what I did is I worked the coffee counter. And what that did is it paid for my monthly dues, and I got to hang out there, and I got free coffee, but it was a great place for camaraderie. The problem now is people tend to leave. But there isn't as much room as there used to be. I would say that York Street is probably the only club that I'm aware of that hasn't had to move in the last 10 to 15 years because of the price. Now, they could have started paying for that a little bit better if people would put more than $1 in the basket. And I'm not saying we have to do that to keep clubs afloat. Okay. Now, is it an AA's group job to make sure that the club pays the rent? No, it is not. A club is a business. But let's get to this. As the majority view, we might suppose that to be a blanket endorsement for clubs, we might think we couldn't get along without them. We might conceive them as a central AA institution, a sort of 13th step. What'd they just say? Clubs were the original 13th step of our recovery program, without which the other 12 steps wouldn't work. Because on my thought process, and it's true because the 13th step would go on to mean that you died sober, but he's calling it, and he put it in quotation, so I don't know that it really was that or not. But what they're saying is that was another step. It was another way to find AA. It was another way to find fellowship, a place for us to gather. Okay. Now, if it's an AA club, should it have NA meetings? Should it have CA meetings or OA meetings? Sure, why not? At times, club enthusiasts will act as though they really believe we could handle our alcohol problems by club life alone. They are apt to depend upon clubs rather than upon the AA program. Yeah, now we got to be careful, right? We got to be careful on that. what is the intention of the AA club? Is it there to make money, or is it there to support AA groups? What is it doing? We're going to find out. But we have AAs, but we have AAs, rather a strong minority too, who want no part of clubs. Not only, they assert, does the social life of a club often divert attention of members from the program, they claim that clubs are an actual drag on AA progress. Hmm. They point to the danger of clubs degenerating into mere hangouts, even joints. They stress the bickerings that do arise over questions of money, management, and personal authority. They are afraid of incidents that might give us unfavorable publicity. In short, they view with alarm, thumbs down on clubs, they say. Right? Everybody's going to have views, you know, um, and it's okay to have them. You're not required to go to a club, but if it's going to help, you know, I've also seen a lot of shit happen at clubs. I've seen stuff go down. I've seen marriages wrecked. I've seen friendships end. I've seen whole peoples divide over a club. I've seen half the people leave a club and go start another club. And even recently, and that just brings me back around to the people I'm trying, you know, there was one point, the Orchard Club, and somebody caused a lot of division there. And then they went and opened Free Spiritual Community, and I don't think that was by accident. So, yeah, the clubs themselves also have to have rules and regulations. They need to live by a certain tradition, also. That is opinion. Okay. An AA club, and I think what we're talking about is probably going to come down to opinion. The real question is this: is it causing more confusion than harmony, or is it bringing a place? When it's centrally located by a bus stop, and would you rather a new alcoholic hang out at the AA club all day and listen to the old timers, or sit at home and Netflix binge? You know, you could probably tell I'm for clubs. Yeah, you could probably tell that now. For several years now, we have been feeling our way towards a middle ground. Despite alarms, it is quite settled that AAs who need and want clubs ought to have them. So the real concern is not whether we shall have clubs, it is how we shall enhance them as assets, how we may diminish their known liabilities, how we shall be sure in the long future that their liabilities do not exceed their assets. Huh. So, what would be a great way to do that? Um, well, have you ever been to? Have you ever gone to a group conscious and done a group fifth step together, fourth and fifth step together? No, you haven't. I haven't seen it happen in a long time. Right? Hmm. See, a group needs to grow just as much as the individual does. And by grow, I don't mean by the amount of people there. I mean as a group. That the that a group conscious really is just to figure out what can we do even better. What are we First of all, what are we doing wrong? Right? So we have to find out our assets and our liabilities in each situation on this. Okay. Um, One of the great things that I loved about Primary Purpose Club was the different kinds of people that were there. I really appreciated that if you had community service to do and it was alcohol or drug related, you got to do it there, and you got to go to meetings and meet people. It was a great way to plant seeds for people with community service. Okay, sometimes we would meet at clubs and have a dance. We don't have dances anymore. They're gone. It was part of our community. We would meet there to go bowling. We would meet there to go to dinner together. We would meet there every Friday night so that somebody could tell their story from our group that was there on a daily basis, right? Yeah. So, of our four largest AA centers, two are club minded and two are not. I happen to live in one which is. The very first AA club of all was started in New York. Though our experience here may not have been the best, it is the one I know. So, by way of portraying the principles and problems we need to discuss, I shall use it as an average illustration of club evolution rather than a model setup. Yeah, see, Triangle Club had whoopee parties, and we don't even know what a whoopee party is. Just means you're getting together chatting. It's just a get together. That's what they used to go whoopee. Yeah. When AA was very young, we met in our homes. People came miles, not only for AA meeting itself, but to sit hours afterwards at coffee, cake, and intimate talks. Alcoholics and their families have been lonely too long. See, that's another thing. We the meeting in and of itself, and this is where Zoom fails, okay, is the intimate talks afterwards. Okay. Do we have parking lot meetings? Sure, we have what we're calling a parking lot meeting, but really only one person could talk at a time. Well, at an in-person meeting, you can go out into the parking lot and there might be 10 conversations going on. People divide up, they start talking. Hey, I heard you say something in a meeting. What do you mean by that? Hey, do you have time to talk a little bit? Hey, I'm looking for a sponsor. You have all those things. That's really hard to do in a Zoom meeting. In fact, it is impossible. It is impossible to do because only one person can really talk at a time, huh? Yeah. In fact, in Zoom meetings, we can't even get the cadence of the Lord's Prayer down. Yeah. Candlelight meetings. Yeah, I used to go to a lot of candlelight meetings. A lot. Me too, Daryl. I miss the interaction. I miss it. And you'd be out there for fucking hours sometimes. The meeting was the meeting, but the camaraderie happened before and after the meeting. That's really when it happened. In Zoom, we do the best that we can. But I tell you, that intimacy portion takes a lot longer on Zoom. That has been my experience. Yeah. Then homes became too small. We couldn't bear to break up into many little meetings, so we looked for a larger place. We lodged first in the workshop of a tailoring establishment, then in a rented room at Steinway Hall. This kept us together during meeting hours. Afterward, we held forth at a cafeteria, but something was missing. It was the home atmosphere. A restaurant didn't have enough of it. Let's have a club, someone said. Oh, yeah. Well, the only requirement for a candlelight meeting is it has to be dark, but they were usually held at midnight. And I'm not up at midnight anymore. Hopefully that'll change soon. All right. So we had a club. We took over an interesting place, the former Artists and Illustrators Club on West 24th Street. What excitement! A couple of our older members signed the lease. We painted and we scrubbed. We had a home. Wonderful memories of days and nights at that first club will always linger. Yeah, we're doing that right now, where a lot of us are saying, yeah, I remember going to this club. I remember going to that club. It was a central location that we called home. It was home to us. We felt comfortable there. It was it felt like a safe space. It was full of other people just like me. Okay. And there's a big difference between a virtual hug and a real hug. There's a big difference. But it must be admitted, not all those memories are ecstatic. Growth brought headaches, growing pains, we call them now. How serious they seemed. Dictators ran amok. Drunks fell on the floor and disturbed the meetings. Steering committees tried to nominate their friends to succeed them and found to their dismay that even sober drunks couldn't be steered. Sometimes we could scarcely get up on the rent. Card players were impervious to any suggestion that they talk to new people. Secretaries got in each other's hair. A corporation was formed to take over the club room lease. So we then had officials. Should these directors run the club, or would it be the AA rotating committee? Well, considering every meeting is autonomous, it's probably going to have to be by the club. Going to have to be that club. Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Good job, Michelle. And absolutely, Daryl, I agree that there's a big difference. I do understand. I mean, I'm the first to admit. I mean, I go to mostly Zoom meeting. I haven't been to an in-person meeting in a couple months, I think. Okay. Um, so, um, but there's reasons for that. I deal with some other things a lot of people do. So first, for a lot of us, Zoom was an outlet because going to an in-person meeting's really tough for some of us. Okay. We're not going to get into that part here, but I think everybody kind of understands that. Yeah. At the same time, there's something to be said to growing enough courage to getting to those outside meetings. My main reason is it's hard for me to sit there for an hour. I used to be real good at it, but just not as good at it, but maybe I would get better if I went to more. Hey, not going to really escape that one, am I? It's hard to come on here and lie because there's a bunch of bullshitters in the room. You're welcome, Ingrid. I hope your stove gets fixed or your oven. Such were our problems. Oh, you did online high school too, huh? No. I did not do online high school. No. Internet wasn't invented then, Uh, but if there would have been online school, that's probably where I would have ended up because yeah, yeah, I got kicked out of my school district. I didn't go to high school. I never went to. I was enrolled at Heritage High School, but I didn't go. Anyway, such were our problems. We found that the use of money, the need for a certain amount of club organization, and the crowded intimacy of the place created situations we hadn't anticipated. Club life had its great joys, but it had liabilities too, that was for sure. Was it worth it all the risk and trouble? The answer was yes, for the 24th Street Club kept right on going and today is occupied by the AA Seamen. We have, besides, three more clubs in this area, and a fourth is contemplated. And I don't even know how many AA clubs are in Colorado anymore. There's got to be at least 10, 12 of them just in the Denver metro area. Um, Absolutely, Daryl. In my opinion, I agree with it. Absolutely. Okay. Now that doesn't mean go to a Zoom meeting and work because it's a convenience. Okay. Our first club was known, of course, as an AA clubhouse. The corporation holding its lease was titled Alcoholics Anonymous of New York, Inc. Only later did we realize that we had incorporated the whole state of New York, a mistake recently rectified. Okay, good. So I'm like, is that how you do it? No way. Of course, our incorporation should have covered 24th Street only. Throughout the country, most clubs have started as ours did. At first, we regard them as central AA institutions, but later experience invariable brings a shift in their status, a shift much to be desired, we now think. For example, the early Manhattan AA Clubber had members from every section of the metropolis area, including New Jersey. After a while, dozens of groups sprang out up in our suburban districts. They got themselves more convenient meeting places. Our Jersey friends secured a club of their own. So these outlying groups, originally spawned from the Manhattan Clubhouse, began to acquire hundreds of members who were not tied to Manhattan either by convenience, inclination, or old time sentiment. They had their own local AA friends, their own convenient gathering places. They weren't interested in Manhattan. You know, when putting out an AA club, I think it's important to realize what other clubs are around there and that there are no AA clubs that should be in competition. RCOs, recovery center organizations, or any kind of recovery thing should never, including therapy, should never, ever, ever be in competition. Ever. It's not what it's about. No. Right? This irked us New Yorkers not a little. Since we had nurtured them, why shouldn't they be interested? We were puzzled why they refused to consider the Manhattan Club the AA center for the metropolitan area. Wasn't the club running a central meeting with speakers from other groups? Did didn't we maintain a paid secretary who sat at the New York clubhouse taking phone calls for assistance and making hospital arrangements for all groups in the area? Of course, we thought our outlying groups ought financially to support the Manhattan clubs. Dutiful children should look after their parents, but our parental plans were of no use. Though the many outlying AA members personally contributed to the 24th Street Club, nary a cent did their respective groups ever send in. And that's where it gets a little. Money fucks things up. Let's call it. Let's just say it, right? Money fucks things up. And what about the people? Because somebody's got to run the club. There's got to be a manager. That person needs to be paid. They're usually somebody a little bit older who is retired that enjoys doing something like that. Usually we would take shifts, right? But then things would come up like, well, that person's not a member. Why are they here? And you're only allowed to stay for so long after the meeting and then the requirements, and that stuff will kill it. It's got to be open ended. It's got to have, that's why I really liked Primary Purpose. They gave me a chance to work the counter to pay off my membership dues. I really appreciated that. Right. Then we took another tack. If the outlying groups would not support the club, they at least might want to pay the salary of the secretary. She was really doing an area job. Surely this was a reasonable request, but it never got anywhere. They just couldn't mentally separate the area secretary from the Manhattan Club. So for a long time, our area needs, our common AA problems, our club management were tied into trying financially and psychological snarl. Now, I think a club can probably do a couple of things. Number one, have memberships that are paid monthly, right? And then you get a discount on coffee. You get a discount when you go to the dance. But having things like dances, having public things where not only the alcoholic can come in, but where, and this is one thing that I really enjoyed about clubs that we don't have much anymore, that a variety of people might be there. See, it was not unusual when I first got into AA that you would go to a meeting and there would be Al-Anon and Alateen going on at the same time. Yeah. And we showed up by a carload, man. It was like going to the drive-in. You showed up by a carload, except here you didn't have to sneak anybody in your trunk. This tangle slowly commenced to unravel as we began to get the idea that clubs ought to be strictly the business of those individuals who especially want clubs and who are willing to pay for them. I agree. Why should my dollar in the basket go to a club that I don't believe in? I will not put a dollar in the basket. The clubs are a separate entity. They are not necessarily even AA clubs. It doesn't say Primary Purpose AA club. It says Primary Purpose. It doesn't say Edit AA. It doesn't say Al-Anon. It doesn't say, York Street, which is actually owned by AA. It is the only club in Colorado owned by Alcoholics Anonymous itself. Right? And it needs a lot of money constantly because it's an old building. But it serves a very, very big purpose in the right area of town. It is in the correct area of town. If you have not visited York Street before and you're in Colorado, I would recommend it. I would recommend it. Where was I? We began to see that club management is a pure business proposition which ought to be separately incorporated under another name, such as, for example, as Alano. That the directors of a club corporation ought to look after club business only, that an AA group as such should never get into active management of a business project. Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. I remember the new club. Before that, it was called Club North. Club North was known for their dances, man. They did the music. Okay. Now in Colorado we have a place. There's one called Sober Underground. Don't. You may go and have a good time, but your money's going to bullshit. I'm going to tell you that right now. Any place that says, "Oh, we're AA and da da da," but is actually ministry is full of shit. Period. Opinion only. Opinion. All opinion on that one, just so you know. Okay. But it feels like a fucking lie. I mean, let's just be honest. Okay. Hectic experience has since taught us that if an AA rotating committee tries to boss the club corporation, or if the corporation tries to run the AA affairs of those groups who may meet in the club, there is difficulty at once. The only way we have found to cure this is to separate the material from the spiritual. Yeah. So you're going to have the AA meeting who has its own rotating members, but a portion of what they bring in pays the rent to the club. And that's one way that the club can make money. Now, if the club is smart, what they will do is they will go out and promote their own club. They can do that. It is a separate entity. Certainly they can promote. That's a good question, Clara Joyce, and I don't know. I would say, depending on how the paperwork was filled out, I don't know how AA owns a club either. I'm lost on that one. I'll just let you know that now. Somebody else might have a better answer, though. If so, please feel free to put it in chat. Yeah, good question. I don't know. If an AA group wishes to use a given club, let them pay rent or split the meeting take with the club management. To a small group opening its first club room, this procedure may seem silly because for the moment the group members will also be club members. Nevertheless, separation by early incorporation is recommended because it will save much confusion later on as other groups start forming in the area. Whew. A lot of talking. How much longer is this one? Not much. We might as well finish it. Questions are often asked. Who elects the business directors of a club? Well, I would have to say whoever's taking risk. Whoever is taking risk. Here, I'll put it up here for you, Daryl. Question was, how if a club is owned by AA or not? I think what she's asking is, how can AA own a club? Right. Especially if you have other types of 12-step meetings there. It gets kind of confusing. Not kind of confusing. It gets confusing fast. It does. Who does club membership differ from AA membership? As practices vary, we don't quite know the answers yet. The most reasonable suggestion seems to be these. Any member ought to feel free to enjoy ordinary privilege of any AA club, whether it makes regular voluntary contribution or not. If he contributes regularly, he should, in addition, be entitled to vote in business meetings which elect the business directors of his club corporation. And so think of it like a non-for-profit, kind of like that. This would open all clubs to all AAs, but it would limit the business conduct to those interested enough to contribute regularly. In this connection, we might remind ourselves that in AA we have no fee or compulsory dues, but it ought to be added, of course, that since clubs are becoming separate and private ventures, they can be run on other lines if their members insist. Club evolution is also telling us this. In none but small communities are clubs likely to remain the principal centers of AA activity. Originally starting as the main center of a city, many clubs to move to larger and larger quarters, thinking to retain the central meaning for its area within its walls. Finally, however, circumstances defeat this purposes. Right? So it's there again, even a club needs to and this is actually something I do quite a lot, is trying to figure out the needs in a community. Yeah, trying to figure out the needs in a community. Well, what do we have? What resources are there? Is there a club already over here? Well, we opened this club. There's a club like 5 miles away, man. Or we, even up here. I mean, we got primary purpose. Then we got Mount View, and then we got Fourth Dimension. Okay. Now, but in between that, okay, like I'll give a great example. I'll give a really good example. Vitality's been at the same location for like 50 years. Okay. Now Putt and Sober is like 2 blocks away. That is a disservice to the community. It is. Very much so. They were not forward thinking. I tell you now, people that originally started the club would not have done that. I know that because I know who they are. And Daryl backed me on that too. They would have been like, no, there's already one over there. They used to be in a great location too, off of North Broadway by Highway 36. I thought that was their best location. And it was great because it was right off the highway. At the same time, rent is so fucking expensive that maybe, and that's what I was just going to say, that maybe that was the only place that they could afford. Okay. So I have to admit that a little bit of my own emotions got caught in that. So it probably has to do with money, because my Vitality is a club. Yeah, it is a club. Because I tend to forget that sober souls aren't the only people that go to Putt and Sober. So, hey, can you give me a minute? I'm live. Love you, bye. Fucking crying. Okay. Club evolution have been many activities, originally starting as the main center of a city. Okay. Circumstance number 1 is that the growing AA will burst the walls of any clubhouse. Maybe back then. Right? I tried opening this thing for 9 months. Nobody showed up. 9 months I tried. Nobody fucking showed up. So that's not always true. And I put it in a place where there wasn't AA around anywhere. All right. So I clearly didn't do something correct. No, the Vitality is a club also. If they do things outside and other things, I would consider it a club. I would. but I could be wrong. But in my mind, it's a club. Because it doesn't have just the vitality. It's not like Vitality that meets at noon every day. They have a lot of meetings throughout the day. Okay. And they're called different things. Well, in order to do that, well, maybe they're not at Vitality. I think maybe every meeting at Vitality is called Vitality. I don't know. And I don't even know who we pay rent to. I think it's the guy that lives in the other place. I don't know. Sooner or later, the principal or central meeting has to be moved into a large auditorium. The club can't hold it. This is a fact which ought to be soberly contemplated whenever a thinking of buying or building large clubhouses. A second circumstance seems sure to leave most clubs in an off-center position, especially in large cities. That it is our strong tendency towards central or intergroup committees management of the common AA problems among metropolitan areas. Every area sooner or later realizes that such concerns as intergroup meetings, hospital arrangements, local public relations, a central office for interviews and information are things in which every AA is interested, whether he has any use for clubs or not. These being strictly AA matters, a central or intergroup committee has to be elected and financed to look after them. The groups of an area will usually support with groups family funds with truly central activities. All right, so they're doing other activities, is what they're saying. Even though the club is still large enough for intergroup meetings and these meetings are still held, the center of gravity for the area will continue to shift to the intergroup committee and its central activities. The club is left definitely offside, where, in the opinion of many, it should be. Actively supported and managed by those who want clubs, they can be taken or left alone. Should these principles be fully applied to our clubs, we shall place ourselves in a position to enjoy their warmth, yet drop any that get too hot. We shall then realize that a club is not a valuable social aid, and more important still, we shall always preserve the simple AA group as the primary spiritual entity whence issues our greatest strength. Okay, you're probably right on that, Daryl. I don't know enough on Vitae, so I'm gonna have to agree with that. So, all right, well, I got to get going, but before I go, for anybody out there, because I know a lot of people that I know also know Mark Hope. And if you'd like to know, his surgery went really well. He had to get a new kidney. It says here, Mark is out of surgery. It went fantastic. Kidney was such a great match that the surgeon had to make sure if Brandon was not a biological son. Kidney is producing urine and he will be here until Thursday if all goes well. Brandon is doing terrific also. So a lot of great things to know that Mark is doing well. And I got this, it came from his phone, but I think his wife Leanna sent it. So anybody that was wondering about Mark and why he's disappeared. So Mark is a very big advocate for recovery. He's also a financial planner who helps people out. He has done a lot to help me get to the things that I've needed to get to help us out here. And he and I are not done working together. I was just waiting for him to get well. So this is really good news, not just for Mark, but for recovery in Colorado, because he gives a fuck what happens here, man. And he has a lot of pull. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. You know, it's interesting to get into some of these other things and understand more. It makes me want to start a club. So I'm not going to, but it makes me want to. So thank you, everybody, for being here. It was good seeing all of you as always. I love you. You know I do. Peace out.